Hey YouTube, I just wanted to share a quick talk I gave at this year's New York Maker Faire. It was all about 3D printing and cosplay, and I figured y'all might find some value in it. So I hope you enjoy, and this is my talk at New York Maker Faire.
3D printed for about 3 years now. Let me just go forward. Some examples of my, oh no, some of them are pixelated, but so from the far, what is that, left was sort of the build that put me on the map was a full scale. That's all 3D printed, everything you see me in, set of power armor. I was standing about, I don't know, 7 feet, 6 inches tall, give or take. Like, nobody had ever done anything like that before. Used about 100 pounds of filament. Then last year I 3D printed a set of Lannister armor from Game of Thrones. Then most recently, about a week ago, I just finished printing another set of power armor from Fallout for the Fallout 76 game release. And then my cat over here, Schrodinger, at the very end, in a little set of custom designed power armor made for her. So all this is 3D printed. So I just wanted to give you a baseline of what you can do. You can do armors, you can do as a complement to fabrics and textiles like you can see on me right here. This is all 3D printed directly onto the fabric. So I just want to give you sort of a quick primer of how you can kind of get started, because 3D printing is not as hard, not as expensive, or inaccessible as most people think they are. So let me just go through the quick whys. So I started out using EVA foam. That was how I built my costumes when I started. But the problem I invariably ran into was it didn't last. It would start to wear off. Paint would chip. The foam would literally actually grind off where it was chafing on joints and different things. So it just didn't last more than 1 or 2 conventions. So I went to 3D printing for durability, props that won't ever break. It's scalable. Like when you're crafting your own stuff, you're just one person or maybe 2 people, like you and a significant other. Printer, you can just have several printers lined up and just printing a sword, a gun, a piece of armor, all on different printers. So you're multiplying yourself. It's a force multiplier, really. It's cheaper than more advanced materials. So like resin casting is about kilo for kilo, about 2 times more expensive to make a resin cast version. Warbler, it's about the same price. I don't know if you guys, actually wait, for a quick baseline, how many of you cosplay or want to cosplay? Raise your hands. Okay, right on, decent number. So if you've probably worked with foam or Warbler, you understand what I'm talking about. Then more importantly, 3D printing, like a lot of people I know are into like designing things. They're good with Photoshop or they're good with CAD modeling. 3D printing is an outlet that utilizes those skills that you really can't do with foam or other materials quite as easily. And then lastly, I don't know about you, I mean, if you're all from New York or from somewhere in the East Coast, you're probably working in a space like an apartment, tiny space, so you can't have 100 different tools. A 3D printer actually can consolidate a lot of different tools that do different techniques into one very neat, not messy package, which is something I love about 3D printing. So that's the quick whys. What you'll need, and this is where I'll emphasize, 3D printing is cheap. You can pick up a very solid printer for less than $200. I put the model names there, so I own each of these printers. For a fun fact, the $300 printer I used made that huge set of power armor. Okay, took about 244 different pieces I had to do in the build plate, and then I had to weld them together. But you can make huge things with a small 8x8x8 inch printer. It's completely doable. So you'll need your printer. You'll need a 3D file of the prop or the armor that you want. And there's a couple places where you can get them online for free or for very low cost. The first is thingiverse.com. I should put in the URLs. Great site. They have a lot of cosplay stuff, but they have a lot of just normal, like cool, fun stuff to print as well. All free for you to download. Then there's My Mini Factory. It's another site similar to Thingiverse that you can, huge amount of cosplay stuff. Game of Thrones, Overwatch, Fallout, every game, movie you can think of, they'll have props from that you can download and then 3D print. And then I'll plug my own website, 3dprintcosplay.com. I'm a designer, so I design a lot of my own stuff. So everything you see on me here is all 3D printed, designed, and available on my site. This one actually is completely free. So anyone, if you want to try it out, you can try it. And then Filaments, which I'll get to in a second. Now, sort of an optional thing, especially if you're doing a lot of armor work, sometimes the plating is not sized to your measurements. So I recommend you can either use a 3D scan, get a 3D scan of your body, so you can go into the modeling program and kind of size, increase the length, the width, however you want it to your dimensions. Or there's another piece of very useful software that generates a generic mannequin based on your measurements. So you put in your chest, your height, a couple other measurements, and it'll spit out a mannequin that's your size that you can then scale the part to, or the prop. So the filaments, there are really 3 filaments that are great for cosplay. Everybody usually starts out with a filament called PLA. It's a corn-based plastic. It's cheap, about $15 to $20 a kilogram. It's very easy to print. It's probably the easiest material anyone getting started. It's very beginner friendly. The only downside, there's 2 downsides with it. It's hard to finish. It's like you try to sand it. I can sand for hours. Nothing's gonna, it's not gonna smooth. So for that, I usually recommend you build up. So you use like a wood filler, drywall spackle, epoxy to coat the print, and that makes it nice and smooth. And later on, you can come and take a look and see all the different finishing techniques I did on all these different armors. And then lastly, it's brittle. So if you don't print the parts thick enough and sturdy enough, boop, if you look at it the wrong way, it'll break. So it's one of these things where you want to keep a light prop, but you got to make it strong, which makes it heavy. Then you got ABS PETG, which is cheap, easy to finish, very easy to sand both those materials, but it's hard to print. Some printers just won't handle it because it's not enclosed, and it's harder. And then just like PLA, because it's a stiff, rigid material, it's brittle. So you got to print, thick, dense prints. So what I'm using actually for this build is a newer material that not many people are talking about, not people know about, called TPU. It's a thermoplastic polyurethane. It's a completely flexible, kind of a rubbery texture type filament. Tough. I mean, I've rolled a car over this filament, bends, and then pops right back to shape. And you can it's flexible, but you can stiffen it up so it looks like completely, just a little bit flex, but it looks completely realistic. Yeah, it's very easy to print. So you basically use the same settings, same temperatures, everything as you would like a PLA plastic. So for post-finishing, there's a couple ways you can finish a print part, because you have rather unsightly print lines that are only accentuated when you paint the part. Like if it's metallics, you'll see every darn line, and it's like, no. So with some filaments, like I said before, you can sand the part directly and you can smooth it out. Other filaments that you can't, you'll have to build up the surface. So you can do epoxy, you can do spackle, and you can use aerosol-based filler primers that you use like with cars. You can buy in Home Depot for like $3, $4 a can. And then in terms of painting, you can pretty much do any type of paint. Model paint, acrylics, so craft paints that you buy in Michael's, aerosol-based paints that you spray from Home Depot. Sky's the limit. Anyways, I just wanted to quickly just give you a quick primer. So I want to open this up now to Q&A if anyone has questions. Okay, do we have a mic? So, and I'll just kind of skip ahead. This is how you can find me. My Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, email, website, where you can see more of my work, and like if you have any questions, ask away. So let's see, did we have, raise your hand if you had any questions. So this gentleman in the green shirt.
What software do you use to 3D model?
To print or 3D design? I'm using Fusion 360 for all my linear CAD modeling, and then ZBrush for all my organic models. So anything like sculpting where I need like a skull or something more organic looking, that's what I use.
So your slide was talking about.
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
Oh, sure. Your slide was talking about getting TPU for a discount.
TPU. I'll give you a coupon code, basically.
What is the typical price range for TPU?
So at the upper end, you got Ninja Flex, which is horribly expensive. I believe it's $40, like for half a kilo. Don't recommend that. I use a SaintSmart TPU, which is about, I think with my coupon code, it's about $22 a kilo. So it's almost on par with a good PLA. Any other questions? I think you had a question. Let's get a mic on you.
So on your website, you talked about like using epoxy to smooth, etc. I mean, you talked about using that. Is that kind of explanation on your website?
I actually have an explanation of that on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And if you shoot me an email, I'm always happy to answer more like detailed breakdown of how to actually do it.
And I don't know if he just asked you that, but if you wanted to get a 3D scan.
A 3D scan? Usually in most major cities, there are 3D companies that 3D print that they also have a scanner. So usually you book an appointment. I think I paid about $40 for my 3D scan. I just wore like a form-fitting bodysuit, so that way I could get true to like skin. And then, yeah, I can, everything. Yeah. This gentleman over here?
How do you join the pieces?
I should have actually run that. I'm so sorry. It's going to depend on the filament. So for PLA, my favorite main go-to is using a 3D print with more filament loaded in, and I'm just welding the parts together. If I need to kind of clean up the surfaces, I'll get a soldering iron or a plastic welder from Harbor Freight. Those will kind of melt and then smooth out any seam lines, and then from that you just build up with epoxy and sand it smooth. For TPU, I'm using E6000, which is a industrial strength adhesive that has a little bit of flex. So it's kind of when you harden it, when it hardens, it's kind of rubbery. Like I know a lot of people swear by super glue, but I'm not a fan of it because it has great strength if you try to pull it apart, but the minute you kind of do this, it's going to break. It's too brittle. Yeah. Any other questions? This gentleman over here.
What type of slicer do you use for your?
So right now I bounce between Cure and Simplify 3D. Cure mainly for the ability to iron the top of a print, which cuts down my post-processing time substantially. Simplify if I have to do something like in a whole helmet with a lot of supports. Okay, yep, this gentleman over here.
Is this necessarily the cheapest solution?
Cheapest solution would be foam, but if you want a balance between cheap and durable, 3D print is that nice middle zone. Because you pretty much, with like one of the printers, you can get started for like a budget, I want to say $300–400. You can get a printer and enough consumables to last you for a prop or a costume. So, let's see, anybody else? I'm an open book here. Well, I think that's probably me. I'm going to be just kind of hanging around over here. If you want to ask more questions, I'm happy to answer everything. Or if you want to take a closer look at my props and armors. So, thank you.